Hello everyone, won't you come join me today in the kitchen? I hope you leave with some inspiration not only for some dinners, but a few other things in between. Let's get started. Alright, dinner tonight is egg roll in a bowl. I haven't made this in such a long time, but Kroger had a really good deal on bagged cabbage, bagged coleslaw mix rather. I picked that up knowing I would make egg roll in a bowl. So here I am just frying up my sausage. I like to use breakfast sausage, so this is a 1-pound roll. And I'm just basically breaking this up here so it can fry. Like I said, I saw the super good deal that Kroger had on this coleslaw mix because I typically just sliver up my own head of cabbage for this. But this time I decided to just go ahead and buy that. It was such a good deal and make egg roll in a bowl. So my sausage is frying up. I'll get that all drained off. And then back into that same skillet, I'm using this bag of coleslaw. And like I said, I got that drained off. I got all the excess grease out of there. I didn't want to leave any of that in. And I'm just putting in this. I love how finely slivered up it is. I did have to pick through it and get out some pieces that definitely shouldn't have been in there, some of the core. So I just pulled those out. I do like probably to sliver up my own cabbage, but this is so much easier as far as convenience. With having your own head of cabbage, though, you can control how big you want to sliver it up or dice it up. I like this really fine, but I also think I would probably prefer it just a little bigger, make it a little bit heftier. It cooks down so much, cabbage does. Anyhow, I'm moving on here to onion. Definitely can't leave onion out of the equation. I'm going to get that in, and I'm going to get in some garlic. Egg roll in a bowl packs a flavor punch, and it's due in part to some of these ingredients. So you see here, I'm putting in ginger. It's the ginger paste. I put in about a teaspoon, and then I'm going in with I used 2 of these little takeout packets of soy sauce because I had those in my fridge. And then I opened up a bottle of the reduced sodium soy sauce as well. This recipe will be down below, but I honestly think this one is one that you add in some of these ingredients and then you kind of give it a little taste at some point and determine whether you need more of one flavor or another. So this is definitely customizable to what your flavor preference would be. All right, there's my drained sausage. It's going back in. I'm just going to give this all a really good toss as we keep moving along here with this dinner. This sesame oil here, I think, is such a distinctive flavor, and in my opinion, it shouldn't be left out of any Oriental type dishes. It just really adds that flavor that you're looking for. At least that's my opinion on that. So I added that in, and we are pretty much done with this. I do put out crushed red pepper when I serve this. That way, James, me, whoever's eating that night, we can put on a little bit of crushed red pepper if we want a little heat. And then I just had a little container of a little package of teriyaki noodles. I cooked those up per package directions, and I split that between James and me. And this plate doesn't look real beautiful. I could have probably fixed this a little bit nicer, but this is what we had that night, and it was really delicious. It just hit the spot. It has been way too long since we have had a roast in the crock pot. I have my liner in here, and I just got my chuck roast in, and I'm going to make it the way that my husband loves it best. And so I have put the crock pot lid on because I had a few things I needed to do real quick, and I wanted to go ahead and get the heat on. So I put the lid on there until I could come back and start adding in my seasoning. So my husband likes it best with cream of mushroom soup, as kind of the gravy. And so I'm going to come in here. I open my can up first before I put in my dry seasoning. So I'm going to come in here with plenty of black pepper, and then I am going to use some garlic and pepper blend on top of that. So I'm going to go in with that, and then I'm going to use a package of brown gravy mix, and so I'm just going to sprinkle that all over the top as well. And then I'm going to put my cream of mushroom soup on the very top. I'm going to go back in and add about a can of water all along the side, so it just has a little bit of additional liquid in there as it's cooking. Again, we can't leave onion out of the equation, so we've got some onion in there, and this is going to cook on high this day for, I don't know, I let it cook about 6 or 7 hours, I think it was. Next, I am moving on to one of the side dishes for tonight's dinner, and that is a sweet potato casserole. So I had 6 or so sweet potatoes that needed to be baked up. I took them out of their skins, put them in this bowl. I'm adding in sugar, milk, eggs. I'm going to use my meat twist and chop. I use this thing for so many different things. It's so handy. So I'm just kind of using this here to get these potatoes broken down, everything mixed up. I have shared this recipe on my channel before over, I think it's Fallon. Yeah, she hosts the Fall Food Fridays, and I put that in over there on her channel. I will have the recipe down below, and I'll also put a link to the video that's just a dedicated recipe for this right here. Added in my vanilla. This is hands down the best sweet potato casserole I have ever had, and anyone who eats it says the same. I had this at a church dinner many years ago and asked the lady for the recipe, and she gladly shared it, and I have shared it so many times. It is so good. So into my sprayed dish here, I am putting in my sweet potatoes. You need about 3 cups or so of sweet potatoes. So those are going in, and then the topping on this thing is so good. It really makes it just over the top. And that is it. It's just those 4 ingredients: softened butter, chopped pecans, a little bit of flour, and some brown sugar. You just get this all mixed together very thoroughly, and you top the casserole with it, and it kind of gets this little firm, crunchy topping on top of those sweet potatoes. It just puts it over the top. I'm telling you, if you don't try anything from this whole video, try this one. And I know you may think, oh, that's kind of seasonal, it's not really the time for sweet potato casserole. Who makes those rules up? I don't know, but have sweet potato casserole and pumpkin pie whenever you good and well please. It's food, it's delicious, have it whenever you want. So yes, you have my permission. Make up this sweet potato casserole and eat a big old serving of it. Now you may remember back to a few videos ago where I showed you 2 jars of garden green beans, home canned. Well, I have 2 more, actually have 3 more, but I'm cooking 2 tonight. These came from my husband's grandpa's garden. They are passed away. My husband's grandma and grandpa passed away within the last couple of years, and it's kind of bittersweet to use these green beans, but they're so delicious. They were such good gardeners. I'm showing you here how to get a lid off. If it's a little bit tight or it's been on there a little while, just use a little butter knife, go underneath the edge there of the ring, and you'll get that ring off lickety split. And then you can use a can opener, bottle opener type deal, or you can just use your knife and you just break the seal and the lid will come right off. So again, it's such a treasure to have these green beans, delicious canned green beans. Look how beautiful these are. We miss them so much, and think about them and what great gardeners they were, growing food, preserving food. He grew enough garden to feed the whole neighborhood if they needed it. So many tomato plants. It's just the best. Great memories. Here I'm putting a little garlic powder in. I had just a little bit in the bottom of the bag here of these real bacon pieces, and then just a little bit of dried chicken base. You got to be careful with that. It will definitely get something too salty pretty quick. And then I just added in some extra water because I want to cook these things a while. That's how we do these things around here. We cook those garden green beans for a little while. And then to go with tonight's dinner, I cooked up a bag of the German Spaetzel noodles. I'm trying to recreate just a little bit a dish that my husband had when we were on vacation in Florida. We went to an authentic German restaurant and they served the Spaetzel noodles. They were like swimming in butter sauce. I didn't put that much in there. And then they just had strips of steak, a little bit like thicker strips of steak over top, and it was a beef stroganoff. I just decided to serve my chuck roast over the top. You can see this delicious gravy that the cream of mushroom soup and the brown gravy packet made. I'll pour what's left here over top. I decided to serve this way tonight. This was so good. My husband went on and on about how much he loved this dish. Guys, the worst part about all this, I'm so frustrated. Don't be too mad at me. I forgot to film the end result of all of this, how everything is sitting out on the counter or plates or anything. I had 2 little grandsons this day, and I was having a lot of fun with them, plus cooking dinner for one of our sons and his wife and my husband's parents. And in the hustle and bustle, I forgot to film all of it when it was done. Please forgive me for that. I do want to show you, though, a couple other things that I did in the kitchen this day. One of them was I roasted these whole cashews, raw cashews. A sweet lady at my husband's work gave him this gallon-sized bag. It's just full to the brim of these raw cashews. So I just looked up a recipe and roasted them up, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to throw this in here in case it will be helpful to anyone at any point in time. I just put these out on a sheet. I put some olive oil over top. I just drizzled it to what I thought looked best, and then I went in with the garlic, salt, and black pepper. And then I baked these for 10 minutes, stirred them all up, and baked them for another 10 minutes. And these turned out so delicious. I bagged up 3 different bags for all 3 of our sons to have. And these are just great snacks. Good to go in a lunchbox. Good to sit around and munch on it in the evening. They turned out really, really good. And on the same day, I had my oldest and youngest grandsons, and I made them a little arroz con pollo. I had some chicken thighs left from the day before. I just pulled all the meat off the bone, and then I used a packet of Knorr chicken rice, and I had some of this white queso that I get at Costco. So I just cooked up the rice, put the chicken in, and let that warm through, and then put a little spoon of the queso on top. I did stir it all up together. I didn't show that in this clip. It just shows it there on the top, and it cooled it down for them enough to where they just dug right in and loved it so much. Both of them thought it was just so good. So this is just a quick way to make an arroz con pollo at home. And here's a look at the chicken thighs that I used the leftovers for the rice. This was just I think it was a $5.16 package of chicken thighs. I just seasoned that with garlic, salt, pepper, paprika, and some parsley flakes. Put some olive oil over the top, baked them in the oven, and they turned out absolutely delicious. All right, and for family night, I decided to make the Parmesan and Panko crusted pork chops. Here are all my seasonings: garlic, parsley, some salt, pepper, Parmesan, and the Panko. And then for the pork, I just had a pork tenderloin in my freezer I thawed out, and I cut those all into pretty much even-sized pieces as best I could, and going to coat those in all of those seasonings and fry them up. But before I do that, I'm going to show you the side dish that I made for tonight's dinner, at least one of them. I'm starting off with these 2-pound bag of mixed vegetables, and I am going to make the recipe that Kristen Stepp just shared on her channel. That is her dad's recipe for cheesy vegetable casserole. You can see here this had some a little stem from green beans, so I thought I would go ahead and look, make sure there's nothing else in there. I'm going to add in some onion. So yeah, like I said, Kristen Stepp, go check her channel out, especially this particular recipe. This is her dad's recipe, and she just shared it on her channel recently. I'll have that linked below. I have made a cheesy vegetable casserole several times through the years, but not exactly like the one that she showed. That is her dad's recipe. So I knew I wanted to give this a try. Now, I didn't do it exactly like he did, just using some of the things I had on hand or if I didn't have on hand, but for the most part, it's pretty similar. I did not put potatoes in the casserole. You'll see that when you go over there and check out her video, exactly how he made it. But I tried to follow it as best I could with what I had. So after you get your sour cream and your cream of chicken added in here with your vegetables after they're cooked and drained, and the butter, of course, then you're going to add in some crushed Ritz crackers. You're going to add in some cheese. Then you're going to get that in a baking dish. Now, she did say Ritz or Townhouse. I happen to have the vegetable flavored Ritz. Another thing I did different, I could not find the Velveeta shreds in our store. They normally have it, but apparently they were out because they were not there. So I just sliced up some Velveeta that I had, put that on top, and then you cover it with more of those crackers. Crackers go in the casserole and on top. And that is very similar to the broccoli casserole that I make. It's a recipe from my husband's cousin. It takes the crushed Ritz crackers inside the casserole and on the top. All right, moving on back to the pork chops. You can see here they are frying up. One side of the pan gets a little warmer than the other. Apparently, this is a stovetop griddle type pan. It just fits over 2 burners. I love it. It's from Tefal, and it's one of my favorite pans that I have to cook up a lot of meat or whatever it is that I'm making. Here they are, and let me just say, these were so delicious, and the vegetable casserole got rave reviews from my family, and they said, make this again, this was so good. So thank you, Kristen, for sharing that recipe. And again, I did not film the whole thing laid out on the countertop like I usually do. I am just off my game this week, but I did find this clip in my phone that I forgot about that showed the previous dinner I showed you with the noodles and the roast, the mashed potatoes, the green beans, and on this night was leftovers, and you can see here I have some of that vegetable casserole. It was very good as leftovers as well. Definitely encourage you to give that one a try, and I am so thankful you joined me for another week. Next week, hopefully I'll have my head more in the game and will stop forgetting to film things like a good YouTuber should, and so forgive me for all of that, but I hope you got some inspiration anyway, and I will see y'all again next week.